Hello, and thank you for agreeing to tell us about yourself and your relationship with the Ipswich Buddhist Centre,
That's okay,
Bodhivamsa.
pleasure.
This is Bodhivamsa I'm speaking to. First of all, could I ask start by asking you about your name and what it means?
Okay, so my name is Bodhivamsa, and it means the first part is Bodhi, which means enlightenment, and the second part, the Vamsa part, means lineage protector. It comes from a root meaning bamboo, so it means so bamboo has growth rings on it, which signifies lineage, so growing.
Okay.
So time passing, and also they're used as ridge poles of buildings. To make a building out of, put thatch on, etc. A simple building, and it means therefore protection. So it offers protection. So it holds the roof up and protects things. So it means protector of the lineage of enlightenment.
Oh, okay.
Is it sort of title?
And you're obviously the chairman of.
I'm the chairman of the Ipswich Buddhist Centre. Yes, that is correct. So I've been the chairman for a couple of years now, 2 years, so fairly new in the job, I suppose. And we have a lovely centre here in the middle of Ipswich, which is very nice. We're just sitting outside that, and it's looking good. So it's all lit up, so it's in the evening. So it's a very nice centre. We own the centre. We bought it about 10 years ago. It's sort of compact, shall we say. It's basically 2 rooms, a shrine room upstairs and a meeting room downstairs, and then kitchen and toilets, etc.
So obviously the centre is set up now, but what did you find when you were first in Ipswich? How did it all begin?
Well, it started probably back, I think it was about 1984, something like that. That sort of period anyway, so sort of middle 80s. And there wasn't much going on, but who's now a friend of mine and was working at the same company I was working at, started a little group in his house. He decided to start a little group, a little Tree Ratner group, and we were just meeting in his house, and it grew really from there. So I went along to that for a little while, and then I went down to the London Buddhist Centre as well, and went along to that. And then eventually I started, because I lived in Colchester, I started things in Colchester, but then eventually I came back to Ipswich because I was still working up at in Ipswich at the time.
And so when you came back to Ipswich, were people still meeting in the house or village halls?
When I came back to Ipswich, so that was after I was ordained. So that's about 22 odd years ago. And we were meeting in various halls. Yeah, that's right. Rented accommodation. So the library, Quaker meeting houses, sort of various places that we rented at the time, just by the hour.
And then did that lead into, because I know that you Ipswich Buddhist Centre was in the walk in.
That's right. So then we were of such a size that we decided to rent somewhere, and we rented a first floor rooms above a shop, above a parade of shops in the middle of town, and we rented that for quite a few years, probably another 10 years. We had that. So yeah.
Okay, so you talked about being in Colchester and then choosing to become ordained. What made you choose the Tree Ratner movement?
Well, I'd looked around. So I'd been going to before I came along to the Ipswich group, I'd been going along to the Buddhist Society in London, which is a very the first Buddhist group in the UK, and that's been going since Victorian times, really, and it in a sense it's very cosmopolitan. It has lots of different groups meeting there, lots of different teachers. So it's more like a sort of a Buddhist interest group, really. So there's not the sense that this is Buddhism that's going to change your life from that. And that's really what I wanted. I want a sense of Sangha, of Buddhist community, and it didn't really have that for me. And so I looked around at other Buddhist groups that were available, and then I came across a retreat for Tree Ratner Buddhism in Norfolk, and I went along to that, and I was blown away by it. It was quite different. So not so stuffy, really, in a sense, and much more practical, hands-on, how to live a Buddhist life and how to sort of get on with other people. And that made a big difference. And then I was hooked from then onwards. So I'd gone to Zen groups and other groups and Tibetan groups as well in that time in my sort of searching for a Buddhist group. And before that, I looked at various other religions and other philosophical groups. But Buddhism definitely spoke to me, and I felt like I was really coming home when I came across Triratna.
And so the founder of that movement was Sangharakshita.
That's
what
right.
was your relationship to him?
Well, I knew him from he was at that time resident. He lived at our place called Padmaloka in Norfolk, near Norwich, just about 7 miles outside Norwich, and he was living there at the time. He then subsequently moved down to London and then to Birmingham, and then eventually to Herefordshire, and he was sort of around, but I didn't talk to him a great deal then. But then when we started things in Colchester, he would come down quite regularly, because that was then he was then living in London. It was just a fairly short ride out from the London Buddhist Centre to Colchester, and he would come out probably every 6 months or something like that. He would come out and lead a class and talk to us, and because he was a great friend of Harsh Prabha, who I was sort of co-leading the Colchester group with at the time.
Mm-hmm. And so you've said that obviously you're ordained. Who ordained you, and what was that process? What did that involve? Process?
So Subhuti, a chap called Subhuti, ordained me, who was one of Sangharakshita's disciples, and he ordained me, as I said, 22 years ago. But the process it took me about between 6 and 10 years. About 6 years it took me to get ordained. So when I decided to become ordained, till I was ordained, took about 6 years. It can take longer, much longer, or it can take much less time. So it just depends on you, how much time you've got available to do various things and sort of go through the process of becoming ordained. It normally involves going on various retreats, and sort of deepening your spiritual practice and deepening your connection with Triratna and the order that is running and involved with Triratna.
Mm-hmm. So obviously you're the chairman of the Ipswich Buddhist Centre. What impact do you think the centre has on the town of Ipswich, or would you hope it to have actually on the town of Ipswich?
I think it has some impact. Yes, I think we're quite small, so it's a small impact, but we do definitely have something. You know, we know a lot of people, we know a lot of other groups, other religious groups. So we're involved with the interfaith group, for instance, in Ipswich, and we also, you know, we're the people who come along to the Ipswich Centre, our Sangha, are of course people who have families and they work in Ipswich and all that sort of thing. So they each come into contact with a large proportion of the population of Ipswich, just in their normal everyday life. So in that sense, we all have this contact. So we probably, in one way or another, come into contact with almost everybody in Ipswich. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In that sort of wider net of our contacts. If you have the idea that within six people you will be in contact with everybody. So and in a short, you know, in a small area like Ipswich, probably within 1 or 2 people you are in contact with a Buddhist, if you live in Ipswich.
So would you say the centre is a place that you can come if you just wanted to meditate, but also if you wanted to take Buddhism much more in much more detail?
That's right. So we have people who just come along to meditate, maybe come along to a lunchtime class during just to unwind during their working day, things like that, and they just meditate. But others who then come along want to know more about Buddhism, about the Buddhist way of life, and what Buddhism has to offer them for their life, really. Yeah. They may have problems they wish to address, and Buddhism can help them with that, or they may just want to just try and be the best they can, you know, in many other ways, or just have a philosophical interest in Buddhism.
So you said the Sangha, which is the spiritual community, the group.
Yes,
the
indeed.
Spiritual community.
Yeah.
How do they contribute to the running of it, and how does the centre actually function?
The centre is a charity, so it's a religious charity. So that's its sort of governing way of operating within the charity's law. So it has a council of trustees, and they are mainly order members, but we've got a few mitras on there, and they sort of administer the finances and the running of the place. And most of the teaching that goes on at the centre is via the order members, so that's the most experienced and the ordained members. But we also have mitras teaching. So mitra just means friend, and we have a lot of mitras. So if you get more involved with the centre, you can ask to become a mitra. And once you become a mitra, you can then be much more involved in the running of the centre. So we have mitras who will be doing study. There's a 4-year mitra study course which people engage in, and also just that we have a regular 3-monthly mitra evening where mitras can voice their opinions about how the centre's going and what we should be doing with the centre and how we should be running things, and that's very good. So and there's a flow of information from the council to that group. So and we just keep in contact with them. So that's the sort of we try and we put things on that the mitras are interested in or they would be useful to them, and also make it sort of nice for them in a way. We just had an upgrade to our reception area, our what we call the Sangha room, and which looks very nice and which was very well supported by donations to be able to. We've had new chairs and a new floor and new paint and all that sort of thing put in, and it looks very nice now. So to make it very nice for anybody coming along.
And so the classes are run weekly, and I see from the calendar that they're run virtually daily.
Yes, that's right. We've got something running on almost every day of the week. That's right. Yes. So we have most of our classes on in the evening, and then we have classes on Saturday and Sunday, sort of all day. Sometimes all day Saturday, and we have day events on Sundays, so festivals or talks or other sorts of events.
And are those fun? Are those run voluntarily by people in the movement or in the centre?
Yes, no. Generally, they're all by volunteers. So we don't have anybody who's paid at the centre. So we don't pay any of our teachers, for instance, or the other members aren't paid, and they do it out of the desire to teach Buddhism, really, and so. That's who run those classes. Yeah.
So how do you afford to run the centre then? I know, as you said, it was a charity, but how else do you get your funding?
So we get funding by some events we charge for. We have a fixed fee for where we have that, but most events we ask for donations. So we just rely on people's generosity to give us money to keep things going. So we let them know how much it costs to run an event or whatever, and they will contribute if they can. If they can't, they still can come along. We don't exclude anybody because of money, and some people give more than the sort of what's appropriate for that class, and some people may give nothing. So we just and that hopefully evens itself out, and we can pay all our fees and expenses that it takes to run a building in the middle of Ipswich.
So it's really open to the community and all aspects of the community then to come.
Yes, that's right. So we have public classes, and anybody in Ipswich can just come along. That's right. Anybody who has an interest in Buddhism or meditation can come along and just see what we're about.
Well, thank you for talking to me today.
That's okay. A pleasure.
And yes, if you're interested in the Ipswich Buddhist Centre, then please visit the website.